There is a code, whispered in shadows, written in blood and silence. Machiavelli never published it in full. He couldn't, because men who cannot be broken terrify those who need others to kneel. You've been taught that strength is loud, that power announces itself, that invincibility means armor. You were lied to. The truth is buried deeper, in a place most will never look, and those who find it never speak of it directly. Until now. If you're ready to become someone nobody can hold back, break, or stop, then subscribe to this channel right now. Because what you're about to hear isn't self-help. It's not motivation. It's a transmission. And most who hear it will reject it. Their egos won't survive the mirror. But you're still here. That means something. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever watched someone crumble under pressure while another person, facing the same storm, remains untouched? Same circumstances. Different outcomes. Why? The fragile one had more talent, more resources, more support. Yet they shattered. The other stood, unbothered, unfazed, still moving. What separated them wasn't luck. It was code. A set of internal laws so absolute that external chaos became irrelevant. Machiavelli observed this in the courts of Florence. He saw princes with armies fall to rumors, and exiles with nothing rebuild kingdoms. He realized that what makes a man unbreakable has nothing to do with what surrounds him. It has everything to do with what he refuses to let inside. This is not a video about resilience. Resilience is for those who endure. We're talking about something beyond endurance. A state where you don't survive attacks. You make attacks irrelevant. Where betrayal doesn't wound you, because you expected it. Where failure doesn't define you, because you never attached your identity to outcomes. The code Machiavelli hid between the lines of the prince and the discourses was never about ruling states. It was about ruling self. So completely, so absolutely, that the external world loses its power to disturb your internal kingdom. They can take your money. You remain wealthy in spirit. They can slander your name. You remain certain of your worth. They can abandon you. You were already whole. This is the hidden code. And I'm about to break it open. But here's the trap most fall into. They think becoming unbreakable means becoming hard, cold, isolated. They confuse invincibility with numbness. Machiavelli knew better. The truly unbreakable are not stone. They're water. Formless. Adaptive. Impossible to grasp. Impossible to contain. You strike water and it absorbs. You cage it and it escapes. You poison it and it purifies. That's what we're building here. Now before we go deeper, let me know in the comments. Have you ever been in a situation where everyone expected you to break, but you didn't? What kept you standing? Drop your story below because your experience might be the one that changes someone's life today. Here's what they don't tell you about power. Real power is not the ability to control others. It's the ability to make yourself uncontrollable by others. Think about that. Every moment you spend trying to manage someone else's perception, behavior, or opinion, you hand them a lever. A way to move you, to stop you, to break you. Machiavelli watched manipulators in the Medici court. The best of them didn't control through force. They controlled by making others need their approval. By becoming the standard, the mirror, the judge. And once you need someone's validation, they own your pace. You slow down when they frown. You change course when they doubt. You stop entirely when they withdraw. This is how most people are held back. Not by chains. By invisible threads of approval they never cut. So the first law of the hidden code is this. The first law, sever the need for witness. You don't need an audience to be great. You don't need confirmation to be right. You don't need applause to know you're winning. Most people perform their lives. They dress for others, speak for reactions, achieve for recognition. And because their actions are tethered to external feedback, their momentum dies the moment the feedback stops. Machiavelli observed that princes who ruled for glory were slaves. Princes who ruled for function were free. Glory requires spectators. Function requires only results. Let me tell you about a man history barely remembers. Cesare Borgia's strategist. Not Machiavelli himself, but a shadow figure in his writings. This man orchestrated 3 coups, 2 assassinations, and the fall of a rival house. And nobody knew his name while he lived. He wanted it that way, because anonymity is armor. He moved through Florence like smoke. No portraits, no boasts, no monuments. When Cesare fell, this man didn't, because no one knew to chase him. He had severed the need for witness. His work was enough. His results were the only applause he required. Now ask yourself, how much of what you do is for you? And how much is for the invisible audience in your mind? The ones you imagine judging you, doubting you, waiting for you to fail. Those phantoms hold more people back than any real enemy ever could. If this is hitting you, subscribe now. Because we're just getting started and you're going to want the rest of this code. Here's the silent question you must answer. If no one ever knew what you accomplished, would you still do it? If your success was completely invisible, would it still matter? The fragile say no. The unbreakable say yes. Because the unbreakable are not running toward praise. They're running from mediocrity. And mediocrity doesn't care if you have an audience. The second law. Own your fractures before others exploit them. Everyone has cracks, insecurities, wounds, shame. The average person hides them, denies them, pretends they don't exist. And because of that, those cracks become weapons in the hands of others. Machiavelli wrote that a wise prince knows his weaknesses better than his enemies do. Because if you know where you're vulnerable, you can defend it. But if you're in denial, you'll be blindsided. Every single time. Think of the leader who can't handle criticism. Everyone around him knows it. So they tiptoe. They whisper. They manipulate him by withholding feedback. His fragility becomes the tool by which he's controlled. Now think of the leader who says, I'm impatient. I'm proud. I miss details when I'm excited. She's named her fractures. Out loud. Now what can you use against her? Nothing. She already said it. She's integrated it. You can't break someone with a truth they've already swallowed. This is psychological armor. Not pretending you're perfect, but knowing exactly where you're not. And deciding that those imperfections will not be the hinges on which you swing. Let me give you something personal. Machiavelli himself was humiliated, tortured, exiled, stripped of his position and his dignity. He had every reason to shatter, to rage, to collapse. But he didn't. You know what he did? He wrote. In exile, alone, he wrote The Prince. Not as therapy, as defiance. He took his fracture, his public failure, and turned it into immortality. He owned the break, and rebuilt from it. That's the code. Comment below right now. What's one weakness you've stopped hiding and started owning? Let's normalize this. Let's take the power back. Now here's the part that makes people uncomfortable. Owning your fractures doesn't mean fixing them. Sometimes it means using them. A man who knows he's distrusting can become an exceptional investigator. A woman who knows she's vengeful can become a relentless advocate. Machiavelli didn't say become a saint. He said know yourself so well that your vices become strategies. This isn't immorality. It's integration. The third law, let them misread you. You will be misunderstood. Guaranteed. People will project onto you. They'll decide who you are based on a glance, a rumor, a moment. And you have 2 choices. Spend your life correcting them, or let them be wrong. The unbreakable choose the latter. Because every minute you spend explaining yourself is a minute you're not moving. Machiavelli advised princes to let enemies underestimate them. Let rivals think you're weak, distracted, or afraid. And while they prepare for the wrong version of you, you strike from the angle they ignored. This is not about deception. It's about economy of energy. You cannot control what people think, but you can control whether their thoughts control you. When someone misreads you and you don't react, you remain a mystery. Mysteries are hard to trap, hard to predict, hard to break. Here's a story that'll make you rethink everything. There was a merchant in Renaissance Venice. Rivals spread rumors that he was bankrupt, overextended, desperate. He heard the whispers and did nothing. Didn't defend himself. Didn't publish his accounts. Just kept working. Quietly. 6 months later, he bought out the 2 largest rivals who had slandered him. Turns out he'd let them think he was weak so they'd overspend trying to crush him. They bankrupted themselves. He stayed patient, misunderstood, and victorious. Let them misread you. Their confusion is your camouflage. If you're starting to see how deep this goes, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Because this kind of knowledge doesn't come around often. And the algorithm buries what it can't monetize with mediocrity. The 4th law: never let crisis determine your identity. Bad things will happen. You'll be betrayed, rejected, humiliated, defeated. That's not the question. The question is, will you let that moment become your story? Most people do. They wear their trauma like a uniform. I'm broken because of what happened. I can't succeed because of who hurt me. I'm stuck because of what I lost. And in doing so, they give the past permanent control over the present. Machiavelli saw leaders lose kingdoms not because of the invasion, but because they never recovered psychologically from the first attack. The crisis became their identity. And a person who identifies as a victim cannot act as a victor. This doesn't mean deny your pain. It means refuse to let pain become your compass. You are not what happened to you. You are what you do next. There's a concept Machiavelli touched on but never fully named. He called it virtue. Not virtue in the moral sense. Virtue meaning force of will. The refusal to let circumstances narrate your worth. A prince with virtue loses a battle and starts planning the next one before the bodies are cold. Not because he's heartless. Because he's undeterred. He separates event from identity. You lost the job. That's an event. You are not a failure. Someone betrayed you. That's an event. You are not unlovable. The business collapsed. That's an event. You are not incapable. See the difference? The unbreakable make this distinction instantly. The fragile blur the line and drown in it. Comment below. What's one event you've been letting define you? Name it. Right here. Because the act of naming it separates you from it. Here's the truth they won't tell you in therapy or seminars. You don't heal by understanding why you were hurt. You heal by deciding the hurt doesn't get to write the next chapter. Machiavelli never sentimentalized suffering. He studied it, then moved past it. That's the code. The 5th law: build in secret, reveal in completion. The world loves to crush things while they're forming. Dreams, projects, transformations. Because potential threatens people. It reminds them of their own unused capacity. So they'll doubt you, mock you, warn you, not because they care. Because your attempt makes them uncomfortable. Machiavelli advised that fortifications should be built in silence. That alliances should be formed in shadow. That plans should be invisible until they're irreversible. This applies to your life. Stop announcing what you're going to do. Stop sharing your goals for validation. Stop posting about the journey before you've taken a step. Build in secret. Reveal in completion. That way, by the time they see it, it's too late to stop. I know a writer who told no one she was writing a book. Not her family. Not her friends. For 2 years, she disappeared into her work. Then one day, she handed her mother a published novel. The shock was delicious. But more importantly, no one had the chance to plant doubt while she was vulnerable. No one could say, "Are you sure you can do this?" She didn't give them the opportunity. She moved in silence and unveiled in strength. Now ask yourself, what are you building that you've been talking about too much? What dream have you given others permission to edit before it even exists? Stop. Go quiet. Let your results be the announcement. If this is changing the way you think, Subscribe and share this video with someone who's been talking too much and doing too little. Call them out with love. The sixth law: starve the dependency on comfort. Comfort is a cage with silk bars. It doesn't feel like a trap. That's what makes it so effective. Machiavelli warned that princes who grew soft in times of peace lost wars in times of conflict. Not because they lacked resources, because they lacked the capacity to endure discomfort. And endurance is the foundation of invincibility. If you can't be uncomfortable, you can be controlled by anyone who threatens your ease. Think about it. The person who needs luxury can't take risks. The person who needs routine can't adapt. The person who needs certainty can't innovate. Every dependency you have is a leash someone else can pull. So the unbreakable practice voluntary discomfort. They fast when they could feast. They stay silent when they could speak. They walk when they could ride. Not as punishment, as preparation. Because when hardship comes, and it will, they've already lived there. It's familiar. It's not a shock. Meanwhile, the comfortable are devastated by the smallest disruption. A delayed flight breaks them. A critical comment ruins their week. A financial setback ends their ambition. Why? Because they never practiced discomfort. So when it arrived uninvited, they had no capacity. Here's a practice Machiavelli would respect. Once a week, remove something you rely on. Your phone for a day. Your morning coffee. Your usual sleep schedule. Small discomforts. Controlled chaos. This teaches your nervous system that you are not fragile. That you can function in less than ideal conditions. And that makes you dangerous. Because dangerous people don't need perfect conditions to perform. What's one comfort you're willing to remove this week? Comment it. Commit publicly. Let's build accountability here. The seventh law: treat opposition as information, not insult. Most people collapse when opposed. Someone disagrees and they take it personally. Someone criticizes and they spiral. Someone competes and they panic. This is because they've tied their identity to being right, liked, or unopposed. The unbreakable see opposition differently. As data, as feedback, as refinement. Machiavelli studied his enemies more than his allies. Because allies agree. Enemies reveal. When someone opposes you, they're showing you where your strategy is visible, where your argument is weak, where your positioning is vulnerable. That's valuable. You don't have to like them, but you'd be foolish not to learn from them. The moment you stop taking opposition personally, you become unbreakable. Because now nothing threatens you. Everything teaches you. Let me tell you about a general Machiavelli wrote about. Can't remember his name, but his method was legendary. Before every battle, he would interview captured enemy scouts. Not to torture them. To learn how his own army appeared from the outside. What did we look like from the hill? Where did you think we were weakest? What surprised you? He used enemy perspective to sharpen his own strategy. That's treating opposition as information. Now apply that to your life. The coworker who criticizes you might be showing you a blind spot. The competitor who outpaces you might be revealing a gap in your model. The friend who doubts you might be exposing an uncertainty you haven't addressed. Listen. Extract. Adjust. Don't collapse. The eighth law. Accept that you will be hated. This is the one that separates the breakable from the unbreakable. You will be hated. Not by everyone, but by someone. And often by people you've never wronged. Machiavelli said it plainly. It is impossible to be both loved by all and effective in action. Because action creates change. And change disturbs comfort. And disturbed people lash out. So if you're trying to be universally liked, you've already lost. You'll move slowly. Apologize constantly. Dilute your vision to avoid offense. And in doing so, you'll become stoppable. The unbreakable accept hatred as proof of motion. If no one opposes you, you're not doing anything that matters. If no one criticizes you, you're not visible enough to threaten the status quo. Hatred, in this sense, is not a problem. It's a compass. It shows you're on the edge of something real. But here's the nuance. Accept that you'll be hated. Don't try to be hated. There's a difference. The edgy contrarian seeks hatred for validation. That's just another form of dependence. The unbreakable simply don't pivot when hatred arrives. They expected it, factored it in, and kept moving. Machiavelli himself was hated, called cynical, immoral, dangerous. And yet here we are, 5 centuries later, studying his words. The people who hated him. Dust. Anonymous dust. That's the long game. Who's someone that hates you or doubts you right now? Don't say their name. Just picture them. Now ask yourself, will their opinion matter in 5 years? In 10? If the answer is no, then why are you letting it slow you down today? Subscribe if you're ready to stop being controlled by people whose names you won't even remember. The 9th law. Win slowly, lose quickly. Speed is contextual. Most people do the opposite of what works. They rush success. Launch too early. Celebrate too soon. Expose their hand before the game is over. And when they lose, they linger. They regret. Replay. Mourn. They camp out in failure. Machiavelli observed that the best strategists moved like glaciers toward victory. Slowly. Incrementally. Testing each step. But when they lost, they pivoted immediately. No drama. No attachment. Just adjustment. This is critical. Winning slowly means you don't get drunk on early results. You don't confuse a good week with a good year. You stay humble, patient, and thorough. You build foundations, not facades. But losing quickly means you don't let failure become your identity. You acknowledge it, learn the lesson, and move. Same day if possible. Here's a modern example. Entrepreneur launches a product. It fails. Most would spend months asking why, journaling about it, blaming the market. The unbreakable spend 3 days analyzing data, 1 day adjusting the model, and relaunch the next week. Failure is treated like weather. Acknowledged, not worshipped. Conversely, when something works, they don't spike the ball. They ask why it worked. They stress test it. They expand carefully. Because early success is fragile. It can vanish faster than it came. Slow victory ensures it lasts. What's something you've been rushing that needs patience? And what's a failure you've been mourning that needs a funeral? Comment below. Let's bury it together. The 10th law. Make your peace with loneliness. This is the cost no one tells you about. The unbreakable walk alone. Not because they're antisocial, but because the path they're on is not crowded. Most people choose the wide road. The one with company, validation, and comfort. The unbreakable choose the narrow road. And narrow roads don't have crowds. Machiavelli spent years in exile. Alone. Stripped of his position. And it was in that loneliness that he wrote his most enduring work. Loneliness is not punishment. It's purification. It removes the noise, the distraction, the performative self. When you're alone, you face the truth. About who you are, what you want, what you're avoiding. And most people can't handle that. So they fill the silence with people, screens, substances. Anything to avoid the mirror. But the unbreakable sit with themselves. They make peace with their own company. And once you're comfortable alone, you can never be controlled by the threat of isolation. People use loneliness as a weapon. They withdraw attention, affection, presence, hoping you'll break and comply. But if you've already made peace with solitude, their withdrawal is powerless. Here's the shift. Stop seeing loneliness as something to escape. See it as something to befriend. The most important relationship you'll ever have is with yourself. And you can't build that in a crowd. The 11th law. Let go of fairness. Life is not fair. People are not fair. Systems are not fair. And the moment you expect fairness, you become breakable. Because every injustice will enrage you. Every betrayal will devastate you. Every unearned advantage someone else has will paralyze you. Machiavelli didn't write about fairness. He wrote about reality. And reality rewards preparation, timing, and leverage. Not virtue. Not effort. Not fairness. This doesn't mean become cruel. It means stop being naive. Stop waiting for the world to recognize your worth. Stop expecting karma to balance the scales. Stop thinking that if you're good enough, people will treat you right. They won't. Not always. And your insistence on fairness will only make you bitter. The unbreakable operate in reality. They see the game as it is, not as it should be. And they play accordingly. They don't complain about the rules. They learn them, master them, and win anyway. Here's a gut check question. How much energy have you wasted being angry about things being unfair? What could you have built with that energy instead? Think about it. Then let it go. The 12th law, become valuable, not liked. Likability is overrated. Likeable people are a dime a dozen. Valuable people are rare. And rarity creates leverage. Machiavelli advised princes not to seek love, but respect. Because love is fickle. It fades. It turns. But respect, especially respect born from value, endures. When you're valuable, people need you. And need is stronger than like. Now here's the trap. Many people try to become valuable by being agreeable. By saying yes. By never challenging. By blending in. That's not value. That's convenience. Real value is specific. It's skill, insight, reliability, results. It's something others can't easily replace. And building that requires you to be difficult sometimes. To say no. To set boundaries. To prioritize your development over their comfort. The unbreakable don't care if they're the most liked person in the room. They care if they're the most essential. And once you're essential, you're unbreakable. Because breaking you costs too much. What's one skill or trait you have that makes you irreplaceable? And if you don't have one yet, what are you going to build? Drop it in the comments. The 13th law, rehearse your death. Machiavelli was obsessed with mortality. Not in a morbid way. In a clarifying way. He believed that men who forgot they would die made cowardly choices. They clung to safety. Avoided risk. Spent their lives protecting what they'd eventually lose anyway. But men who remembered death lived with urgency. With clarity. With courage. Because nothing was permanent. So nothing was worth holding onto at the cost of living fully. This is the final law. Rehearse your death. Not to be dark, but to be free. Imagine yourself at the end. Looking back. What will matter? The approval you chased? The grudges you held? The comfort you protected? Or the risks you took? The love you gave? The work you completed? When you rehearse your death, the petty things lose power. The fear of embarrassment fades. The need for permission dissolves. Because you're on the clock. And the clock doesn't care about your excuses. Machiavelli wrote The Prince knowing he might die forgotten. He wrote it anyway. Because the work mattered more than the reception. That's the energy of someone who's rehearsed the end. And it makes you unstoppable. Here's your practice. Once a month, sit in silence and imagine your last day. Who's there? What did you do that mattered? What did you waste time on? Let that vision recalibrate your choices. If you've made it this far, you're not average. Subscribe now. Because this channel is for the ones who want the truth, not comfort. Now let's talk about what happens when you implement this code. Not in theory. In life. You'll notice something strange. The things that used to destabilize you won't anymore. Someone insults you and you'll feel nothing. Not because you're numb. Because it's irrelevant. Someone betrays you and you'll adjust. Quickly. Coldly. Efficiently. Not because you don't care. Because you expected it. You'll start moving through the world differently. Less reactive. More observational. People will sense it. They won't be able to name it. But they'll feel that you're not like the others. You don't break under pressure. You don't beg for approval. You don't collapse when opposed. And that will unsettle them. Because breakable people need others to be breakable too. It validates their fragility. But you're no longer playing that game. Here's what Machiavelli understood that most people refuse to accept. The world is not trying to help you. It's not trying to hurt you either. It's indifferent. It will take from you if you're weak. It will yield to you if you're strong. And strength, real strength, is not about domination. It's about independence. The ability to stand when everyone else kneels. To move when everyone else freezes. To build when everyone else complains. This is not about becoming cold. It's about becoming sovereign. A sovereign doesn't need the kingdom to validate the crown. The crown is internal. And once you understand that, nothing external can strip you of it. Let me tell you one last story. There was a philosopher in ancient Rome. Not famous. Barely recorded. He was imprisoned for words he spoke against a corrupt senator. They threw him in a cell. Dark. Cold. Meant to break him. His students smuggled in a message asking how he was enduring. His reply was one sentence. I am still free because my mind is still mine. They couldn't understand. He had no freedom, no light, no comfort. But he had something they didn't. He had the code. His external circumstances were irrelevant. His internal state was untouchable. That's what we're building here. An internal state so fortified that the external world becomes weather. Sometimes harsh, sometimes fair, but never defining. So let me ask you one final question. What would you do if you knew, truly knew, that nothing could break you? What risk would you take? What would you say? What would you build? Who would you become? Because that's not a fantasy. It's a choice. The choice to implement this code. To sever the need for witness. To own your fractures. To let them misread you. To refuse to let crisis define you. To build in secret. To starve your dependency on comfort. To treat opposition as information. To accept hatred. To win slowly and lose quickly. To make peace with loneliness. To let go of fairness. To become valuable, not liked. And to rehearse your death so you can live fully. That choice is in front of you right now. And most people won't make it. They'll watch this video, feel inspired for an hour, and then return to the same patterns that keep them breakable. But you're not most people. You wouldn't have made it this far if you were. So here's what you do next. You subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. You share this video with one person who needs to hear it. Just one. And then you pick one law. Just one. And you implement it today. Not tomorrow. Today. Because the unbreakable don't wait for permission or perfect conditions. They move. Machiavelli died in 1527. Broke. Exiled. Largely ignored by his contemporaries. But his ideas outlived empires. His words shaped revolutions. His code, the one hidden between the lines, is still here. Still working. Still turning ordinary people into forces of nature. You're holding that code now. The question is, what will you do with it? Will you let the world hold you back, break you, or stop you? Or will you become the kind of person those verbs no longer apply to? The choice was never theirs. It was always yours. And if you're ready to go even deeper, stay subscribed. Because this is only the beginning. There are layers to this. Strategies Machiavelli whispered in metaphors. Techniques hidden in his letters. Principles buried in his plays. And we're going to uncover all of it. One transmission at a time. You're not here by accident. You're here because some part of you already knows you're unbreakable. You just needed permission to stop pretending otherwise. Welcome to the code. Now go become inevitable.